Hey guys, it's Erica here from Big Cat Creative, and today I'm going to walk you through exactly how to add your Interact quiz to Squarespace, including all of the different ways you can embed and display it, best settings to use, and setting up custom Squarespace answer pages. Interact is an amazing tool that lets you create online quizzes that grow your email list. Basically, you set up a quiz, put it on your website visitor takes the quiz, and then they can opt into your email list to view their results. It's a pretty awesome idea because it's fun, quick, really enticing for your visitors, and according to Interact, quizzes convert really well. Quizzes are becoming more and more common in the online business space. Maybe you've seen entrepreneurs like Jenna Kutcher and Marie Forleo using quizzes to generate leads. And Interact is really making a name for themselves because their quizzes are so much more than just quizzes. I could go on about all the amazing features that are included when you subscribe, but I'm not really here to do that. But I will say, you can do some pretty amazing advanced things with your quiz, including segmenting your audience, creating quiz questions just to learn more about your audience, and there's also advanced analytics. So you can see exactly what your quiz takers are doing. It's very, very cool. I'm actually working on setting up my own quiz right now, and I'm sure most of you know that we use Squarespace for our website at Big Cat Creative, so I wanted to show you the basic setup of how you can set up a quiz on your Interact, but integrate it into your Squarespace site so it looks good. If you haven't even started putting your quiz together yet, I would recommend doing that first. You can create the whole quiz in Interact, and then the final piece is embedding it onto your site. So make sure your quiz is basically finished and then come back to this video to see how to embed it into your Squarespace site. I've linked Interact below this video so you can go straight there, start or finish your quiz. They have tons of resources on their website about how to actually build the quiz, but this video is just going to be about the different ways you can embed it with Squarespace. After your quiz in Interact is complete, I recommend setting up custom results pages. You don't have to do this, but if you're a bit of a perfectionist with the design like me, then this option will probably suit you. So obviously with a quiz, you need to have results for that quiz. And when you were creating that quiz, you may have set your answers up in the basic Interact template. Instead, you can actually create custom results pages on your website, in this case Squarespace, and redirect the results from Interact to open in this page on your website, rather than opening in their templated results pages. This is such a great option because this means you can really do whatever you want for the results pages. I recommend using the content guidelines from the Interact results templates and maybe taking some other quizzes from other business pros out there and seeing what they have on their results pages just to get some ideas, and then creating something really unique for your quiz results. So let me quickly show you how to set this all up in Squarespace. The first thing we're going to do is add some pages. I'm currently using Squarespace 7.1 for this example, but it will work exactly the same in Squarespace 7.0. Head over to your pages, and we're going to actually add the pages that we want to use for our results pages. So I'm just going to add regular pages here in Squarespace 7.1 by clicking on the plus and clicking blank page. If you're in Squarespace 7.0, you might want to use index pages and index sections. That's totally up to you, and you can really use whatever you want. Now, I do recommend creating these pages in the not linked section, and that means that these pages aren't going to be linked in any of the menus around your site, and they'll only be accessible to the people who actually finish the quiz. I also recommend opening up the page settings and updating the page title, navigation title, and URL slug to something specific for your result. I'm just going to go ahead and type in results 1, but you should type in something probably more specific to what your result actually is. It's also important too to update the URL slug so it's nice and tidy and relates to the page title. Under the SEO tab, I highly recommend hiding this page from search results. So click on SEO, scroll to the bottom and flick this little tab here. And this is going to hide your results page from search engines. Basically, when people are on Google and they are Googling things, they don't accidentally stumble across a results page in the search results. You really only want people to see your results if they have gone through the quiz. So I highly recommend hiding this page from search results. If you do have a search bar or something else around your site, it is possible that people will still stumble across this page, as you can't actually hide it from your Squarespace search results, which is a little bit annoying, but it's pretty unlikely that people will stumble across it. And if you're really worried about it, you can actually add a password to the page and then give the person who entered the quiz a password. That's a little bit advanced, and I really would only recommend that if you're really, really worried about people accidentally coming across your results page. Otherwise, just hide it from the search results, and that's probably enough. If you do add a password to your page, it will hide your page from your internal Squarespace search results. When you've entered in all of your settings, go ahead and click Save. And this is one of your new results pages. Of course, if you have more than one result, which you probably should, you'll want to create a new page for each result. Go ahead and add as many pages as you need to for your results, and then make sure you put in those settings that we just talked about. If you do have lots of results and pages on your site, it can get a little bit messy. So what I like to do is I like to click the plus and add a folder, and then just organize my sidebar not linked pages into different folders. This is really just for organization purposes and is really only useful when you have a ton of different pages. Of course, once you've set up your pages, you'll want to design to your heart's content. You have complete creative freedom over this because it is your website, it's your page. You can literally do whatever you want. For demonstration purposes, let's just pretend this is a completely completed results page, and now I want to link it up to my quiz. Now we're going to jump over into Interact, and we're going to set up our results page redirects. But before we do that, I need to put an important disclaimer up that for the results page redirects to work, we need to use a JavaScript embed code. So what does that mean? It doesn't really mean much because it will work fine in Squarespace. But if you are using Squarespace 7.0, then for this JavaScript embed code to work, you do need to change one quick setting on your Squarespace 7.0 site. So I'll just quickly show you here in Squarespace 7.0, you'll want to go to Design, Site Styles, and then you're going to look for something called Ajax Loading. So under Site Loading here, it says Enable Ajax Loading. We want to check this so it is turned off because that will mess with our JavaScript embed code for our quiz. If you're using Squarespace 7.1, you don't need to worry because it's already set up. Now, the second disclaimer I want to give is only important if you already have your quiz embedded onto your live site. So if you don't worry about this and you can just move on to the next steps. But if you are currently working on a quiz that is live, embedded somewhere like on your website where people can actually take the quiz, then it's important that you listen to this following information. So you would have obviously embedded your quiz in the past, so you know a little bit about the share and embed settings. So under embed code, you have all your different embed codes, which we're going to dive into soon. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry. And you have your settings underneath JavaScript here. Now we're about to enter in our settings for our answers to redirect to our new Squarespace answer pages. And when you do that, you're actually going to get a new setting show up here. And I'll show you it on another quiz that already has the redirect pages set up. So under embed code, JavaScript, when I scroll down, there's a setting here called redirect host page on redirect. It's kind of confusing, but basically this needs to be turned on if you want your new Squarespace results pages to work. If you already have a live quiz embedded somewhere on your site and you're setting up new Squarespace results page redirects, then you're either going to, number one, want to take your quiz down just for the 5 minutes that you're working through the settings, or number two, just implement the settings really fast because we will need to come into the settings, check this redirect, and then update the code on your website or wherever else you have embedded it. If you do it pretty quickly, it shouldn't matter. There shouldn't be too much downtime. But if you do have a really popular quiz and people are taking it every minute, then it's important that probably you just take the quiz down for a couple minutes, finish your settings that we're about to do, and then re-embed the quiz with the new updated code. That's really just a disclaimer for people who already have their quiz embedded. If you don't, just carry on, and I'm going to go through in detail all of these embed settings soon anyway, which will explain exactly what you need and how to set it up for those results page redirects. Okay, so let's jump in and add those redirect settings now. In your dashboard, click Edit on the quiz that you want to link up. I'm just using this Interact template as an example. Click on your results and then come down to Redirect Results. So click on that. For this quiz, we have 3 different results and we're going to redirect them all. And all you have to do is either click Redirect All or just click on whichever one you want to redirect. You can see the full title of your results here in this box. And then this is where you just put the URL of the results page you just set up in Squarespace. So to get the URL, you'll want to go back to your site, click on the page settings, and where we added in the URL slug, this is going to be your URL. So I'm just using a test site right now, and I don't have a domain, but if I did have a domain, it would be something like www.bigcatcreative.com, and then you would do your slash and paste in the URL slug from this page, and that makes up your whole URL. Enter in all of your pages for your different results, just click out, and then you'll instantly see your result is now redirecting to a URL, and to save the settings, make sure to click Publish. Publish changes, and that's how to set up and link up your custom results pages with Squarespace. Okay, so now you finished your actual quiz and the results, and you're ready to embed this quiz into your Squarespace site. Luckily, Interact makes this pretty easy, but there are a ton of different ways you can embed and display your quiz. So I thought I would do a quick rundown for you of all the options and the settings I recommend that you use for Squarespace. To embed your quiz on your Squarespace site, the first thing you need to do is come into Interact and click Share and Embed. This is going to open a pop-up window with lots of different embedding options. The first option I'm going to show you is how to embed the full quiz onto your site. You do that by coming to Embed Code, and you can see that there's a lot of different codes and settings in here. Now, I've basically gone through and trial and errored and tried them all to see what works best with Squarespace. I highly recommend you following the settings I'm about to show you. Click on JavaScript, then click Auto Resize Embed to fit quiz content, so make sure that's on. And by clicking this, you would assume that it's going to automatically resize to fit the quiz content. Unfortunately, with Squarespace, it does have some issues if you just use this option and you don't set a custom size. I've found that it overlaps over the other Squarespace elements and it's a bit glitchy. So I'd recommend checking that, but then also checking the Use Custom Embed Size and making this really big. So what I would recommend is maybe 2000 by 2000. And this is going to ensure that your quiz is really big. And so instead of setting the custom dimensions within Interact, you can actually just use your Squarespace interface like page width and spacers to adjust the size of the quiz. And I'll show you that in a second. So back in the dashboard, you do have a few more options in here, like Open Quiz in New tab on mobile devices. I personally don't use this option because mine works fine as it is, but if you're having any trouble and you want to try that one out for mobile devices, definitely give it a go. And then we also have the option to disable the cover page on the quiz, which I will show you how that works in a minute. And then the last setting we have here is redirect host page on redirect, which is really confusing, but basically if you have custom results pages set up, like I just showed you how to do before, then you'll want to check this. This is going to enable the redirects we just set up to your custom results pages to actually work. If you're using the built-in results pages, then you won't have this option. So I recommend using these settings to start with, and I'll show you how it works. Scroll back up to the top and click Copy Code. Head back over to your Squarespace website, and you're going to want to obviously go to the page or place that you want to embed your quiz. This can be literally anywhere that you can add a block around your site. So you can create a custom page for this if you wanted to, or you could put it in blog posts, you could put it on your homepage. You can basically put it anywhere that you can put a block. For this example, I'm just going to put it onto the homepage. So just click Edit on your page, and then click the blue plus line to add a new block, and we're going to add a code block. Go ahead and paste your code inside the code block, and it will say something like script disabled because it just won't show you it in the edit mode. But if you click out of the code block, click save on your page, it will refresh and it will show you what your quiz is looking like. Now, as you can see, it's a little off-centered and small, and if we look back at my dashboard, you can see that it didn't save my settings where I put in 2000 by 2000. So this is currently displaying at 800 by 800, and you can see what happens. This is a good example of what happens when you set a smaller size. So that's why I've gone for 2000 by 2000. If you're worried that might not even be big enough, you could go for 3000 pixels, and that will likely cover all bases. So I'm going to put those settings in again, copy the code again, and just fix it up by clicking Edit, opening my code block, removing the existing code, pasting in the new code, clicking away and clicking Save again. Now this should be the full width of the page because I have it set to a much larger size. Now you might be wondering why I don't just set the size in Interact in the code, but I do just prefer to set the size of things inside of Squarespace because then your quiz is going to be controlled by the size of your website rather than the size of the codes you put in, which just makes it a lot easier when you're designing your site. So I'm going to click Edit again, and I can either add some spacers on either side of this block to bring it in, or in Squarespace 7.1, like I'm in now, I can edit the section and bring the content width into small. And you can see that this is going to make my code block smaller, which should scale my quiz down perfectly. This is an example of what the full quiz looks like when it's embedded into your Squarespace site. When you do embed the full quiz onto your site, you might be wondering how to change the colors to make them suit your site better. If you head back to Interact, click out of your embed code section and then click Edit on your actual quiz. You can update all of the colors here along the top. Depending on where you want to put the quiz on your site and the colors of your site, you can change the background color, option, selection, progress bar, and button color. And under text, you can also change your fonts, and there is a good selection here of Google fonts. And I believe you can also hook up your Adobe Typekit, Google Fonts, and there's some other options there. You should be able to find something that works with your branding. It might not be exactly right, but it should be pretty close. Once you've updated your colors again, always make sure you publish if you want to set changes live. And then we'll come back to the embed code section and back into JavaScript. One kind of annoying thing about this module here is that every time you come back into it, it resets the settings back to the default. So you do have to remember what settings work best if you're coming in and updating anything. You can always come back and refer to this video or the post I've linked under this video, or feel free to take your own screenshot to save it if you think you might forget. But again, I'm just going to set up those settings how I had them before. And this time I'm going to click Disable Cover Page on Quiz. It's pretty self-explanatory what that does, but I will quickly show you. So this just gives you another option for a different way to set up your quiz. If you're linking to it from another area and want to jump straight in instead of having a cover page, or even if just having the first question works better for your website to really just bring the visitors straight into the quiz instead of having them click a button first, this might work really well for you. So basically it just disables that first cover page and jumps straight into that first question. So that one is pretty self-explanatory. Now there's two more ways that you can embed your quiz on your site, and both of those involve using a button that links away to the quiz instead of having the full embedded quiz like this on the site. So the first option is a really simple option of just adding a regular Squarespace button to your site. I'm going to delete the code we just added, so that's going to delete the quiz. And I'm going to click on the plus and just add a regular button. So this will be sort of like our quiz button, and that means that you can do any sort of design around the button that you want, and you're not limited just by that cover page that Interact has, which from a design standpoint is pretty limiting and hard to make look really good if you are fussy with what your website or brand looks like. Just using a button actually makes it much easier to custom design the intro to your quiz. So what I would do in this situation, if we're just using a regular button, is I'd come back to Interact, click on the share link, copy this link, then come back to Squarespace, click on the cog, and click on web address. paste that underneath the link, and then click Open in New Window. I suppose you don't have to open it in a new window, but that just seems right to me. Click Save, click out of the button block, and then click Save on your page. Now if we preview this and click on Take the Quiz Now, it's going to open up our quiz in a new window. You can see when this page opens in a new window that it still might not be perfectly on brand for you, and you still might not want the cover page. In that case, I would create another page in Squarespace in your Not Linked section. And this would be your quiz page. Then I would use the embedding we talked about earlier to embed the quiz onto your page. So this means you can actually customize the design of that page and have the quiz embedded in the middle of the page. You can use the feature to disable the cover page, and then you could link to that page from your button. I know this is pretty all over the place, but there's just so many things that you can do with these different options. In that case, you'd click on the button and it would go to your hidden page, which would just have your quiz on it. You can either remove or leave the cover page, and you can design it any which way you like. Obviously, with the interact page, you can't do any sort of design on here. So again, that's just a way of giving you more freedom to keep everything on brand and cohesive. Now, the last option I'm going to quickly show you is what you'll see a lot of big websites doing and what we've done with our quiz, which is really similar to this button function, but it's a little bit more advanced in that it's custom coded. So I'm actually going to show you how to do it in a different video because it is quite complex. But basically we have this simple page here with our own intro and own button, like I just talked about. But when you actually click the button, it opens the quiz directly in this page and you don't leave the page at all. You'll also see other influencers and big businesses doing this sort of thing. So I'll just show you Jenna Kutcher's, which is obviously a very popular quiz. When you click Take the Quiz, you don't leave the page at all, it just leaves you on the same page. Now Jenna's is done in the Show It platform. I believe they have just built-in settings in Show It to create something like this. If you want to create something like this in Squarespace, you have to use custom code. If you are interested in that option, I've linked that tutorial down below. I'm keeping it separate because it is quite advanced and it probably deserves its own video and tutorial. And if you're not really keen to jump into that more advanced coding, but you still really like this button look, then I recommend just adding a button to your site like I just showed you before, then creating your own quiz page and just having it open in a different window. It really has a very similar effect and is a lot less complicated to set up. So that's how you embed your Interact quiz into Squarespace. I hope that was helpful for you, and as you can tell, there's a few different options, so you can really pick and choose depending on what you want your quiz to look like on your site. I will create another video tutorial and written blog post about how to get that button to go straight to your embedded quiz, because it's a more complex custom code tutorial. So if you really want to use that option, then make sure you check out that tutorial. I will link it below this video. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.